Welcome to Spark Animation 2021. My name is Maureen Antunes, Festival Director. Pleased that you're able to join us for this Meet the Filmmaker session. Very excited to be here with Desirae Witte, the director of The Fall, which was awarded the Director's Prize at this year's festival. Welcome.
Hi, so happy to be here and for the chance to chat with you.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you because I have to say the film was one of the ones that I kept watching over and over. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun and it's so cute.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy to hear that.
But before we talk about the movie, I wanted to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into animation? Was it always a passion for you?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Desirae. I am originally from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I got into animation, I think, as most, kids of my generation, and that's through video games and movies. So, of course, growing up with Disney, I was a big Ghibli fan. In terms of kind of deciding to pursue animation, I was interested in art, music, and English. And I was like, okay, what should I do with my life? And when I kind of learned about animation as being a career path, it felt like something where I could have all of those things. Like that animation and filmmaking encompassed sort of all of these aspects of storytelling and expression. And I felt like I wasn't giving up any of them. So that is kind of what led me to pursue that. I went to Emily Carr here in Vancouver.
And so talk a little bit about The Fall. I know that for those that are not local, they may not know about Titmos's 5-second day, but it's kind of like a famous or infamous thing here. I don't know which one to go with.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, how you found out about it and what prompted you to actually submit the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Titmouse Studio they basically give everybody who works there a day every year to kind of set aside their work and just do something personal. So it's called 5-second day because obviously to make something in one day, it's got to be pretty succinct. I learned about it after I had already begun working in the industry. It was it's just locally kind of a fun event that everyone looks forward to. And I made The Fall kind of while working at Titmouse. I was a storyboard revisionist, but being a board artist and not an animator, I was like a little bit nervous to submit something because so much of what people make is so polished and like well animated. But my partner Omri was like, just make something, and if it sucks, don't hand it in, So that's why The Fall is quite a bit longer, obviously, than 5 seconds. But the original animatic for The Fall was what I made. And it got a lot of laughs at the screening. So
so where did the concept come from? Because it's so ingenious and such a simple idea, but it's just the for those that haven't seen it, the short is playing at the festival, but like just this juxtaposition of the slow and the fast and the close up and just like it's just so simple but so well executed. Where did the concept come from?
Oh man, I honestly like kind of hate this answer because I hate when other people give this answer, but it kind of just like came to me. It was one of those very rare moments where I was heading to a friend's wedding and I was like standing in a lobby of a hotel waiting for a friend. I don't know why, but I just had this image in my mind of like, how funny would it be, to juxtapose, what we experience, during the fall, seeing all this beautiful foliage and that process and what that must be like though, from the perspective of a leaf. And it was just a sticky image in my head. And I was like, that's funny. And like, I don't know, I think I've always had an affinity for like small things. And like, I think I tend to humanize things a lot. And so I don't know, there's just something so funny to me about a leaf screaming. Maybe I have like a twisted sense of humor as well, but yeah, it just stuck in my mind. And
I'm with you there.
Yeah. So yeah, when 5-second day rolled around, and I was like, I don't know what am I going to do? I don't have any ideas. Well, I have one because it's just kind of there, and yeah.
So when you started putting this idea together, and so you submit it and it gets some laughs, and you start thinking, like, when do you start thinking, well, there might be more here than just 5 seconds,
right? Yeah, honestly, like after the 5-second day, it sat on the shelf for like a year, maybe. I really didn't have any intention to make it into anything else. I remember like a good friend and mentor of mine, Duran Mayer, said, you know, this is just begging for color. It's called The Fall, like, and it's this black and white animatic, like, and I'm like, yeah, true, but you know. How this kind of actually came about was about a year ago, kind of in the middle of 2020, we're all working from home, you know, if we were lucky to have that. And I was feeling a bit miserable, and like my to-be sister-in-law, Shai Wallach, who was working in marketing, and she was, you know, wanting to make a career shift to animation. My good friend Philippa Tanner, who is our producer on The Fall, was also kind of wanting to do something. We were all just like itchy. And so Shai was kind of off in Toronto trying to figure out something. Philippa and I actually applied for the Women in Animation ACE program. So Phil and I both were shortlisted, and we're kind of, you know, I was trying out for director, she was trying out for producer. We're kind of like, oh, good luck, you know. And that was such a cool experience last year when they shortlisted the candidates. They actually gave us like all some training. So we had some pitching workshops. They had kind of like a director workshop for the director shortlisted folks. And it just gave us so much momentum, I think. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward, we pitched to a jury. We're all super psyched to make a film, and 2 other amazing women were selected, who are just absolutely phenomenal people and deserving and amazing. But the really positive thing about that experience was I don't think either Philippa or I felt discouraged by that. I think it was made known to us that they believed in us enough, obviously, to, you know, take us through that process, and were kind of encouraged us to go off and do something. So anyway, to kind of bring us all to how this came to a head, Shai's in Toronto, like, I want to do something. Philippa and I are like, got our goggles on, like ready to jump in. And we're like, oh, our like option got taken away. And now what? And I think we just all were like, should we just make something? So Shai and I set up a meeting with Philippa, and we all sat down and we said, do we want to make a film together? And we all said, yes. Now what? And honestly, it was just the first thing we did was we set a weekly production meeting. And it was very just like one foot in front of the other. That's kind of how this began.
Well, was it scary to kind of make that leap that, you know, from concept to actually, you know, jumping in and getting something started, even though you didn't really know at the beginning what it was even going to be?
Yeah. Well, there was something about doing it that way, though, that I kind of maybe took, like, maybe because it was just us doing a thing. And that the goal, I think when we all sat down, we're like, why do we want to do this? We kind of like made it clear, like, what are our intentions for this? The intention was just to make something. It didn't need to be great, like, or even good. It was just to try it. And we all decided to, like, we want to keep this within a year. We don't want to spend more than a year, especially because this is our first thing. So part of why The Fall was the thing that we chose to pursue is, you know, the thing about it, like, it had been audience tested. It got laughs. We knew there was something there. You know, the groundwork was laid in terms of like the animatic. We did a bit more work on it, but we didn't want to alter it too much from its original kind of concept. And it's a short film. Like, it was shorter when we started, but it's only like just under 3 minutes, credits included. So we're like, here's something, let's do this. Let's not change it a ton, but make it better. So the first thing I kind of did, you know, while we were pursuing kind of building our team around us, was shopped it out to sort of directors and people I trust and who are more experienced and smarter than me. So Doran and Chris Pern, who I got to work with on the Willoughbys. And so getting their feedback of like, without making this 6 times as long, what can I do to strengthen this? And that's kind of how we started. But it was a bit scary, but it was exciting because we also didn't know what the heck we were doing. So there was no failing, you know.
So can you talk a little bit about the process of building the team? So once you've, you know, you have the project that you're going to be working on, you have your trio that's ready to move forward, and you have your weekly meetings. When do you start to look to like growing the team and making sure you have all the talent involved to actually like deliver this within the year?
Yeah, that was kind of one of the first things we were kind of talking about, is like, what options do we have? And so I guess kind of related to your question of how do we build a team, one of the first questions we had was like, are we funded? Do we, like, what do we do with this, right? So we did look into funding, and through kind of one thing or another, like either we just found some doors were just closed, either due to COVID diverting, relief to different programs, or we just didn't have the credentials for particular things. And we just decided, okay, we don't want to delay production. So rather than going, oh, we can't do this without funding, oh no, we said, well, what can we do? Do we ask a couple, recent grads if they have a couple weeks over their summer to help make a design if they want, or do I just try to do it all, or do we ask a friend, or what can we do? And we were really cognizant. Obviously, we work in this industry. I'm an artist. I work in story. What we really wanted to make clear and not do was take advantage of people, or even have people perceive that we wanted to take advantage and have somebody work for free, so to speak. So we really were kind of intentional about, okay, when we pitch this to people, we want to be extremely transparent about what this is, and extremely transparent about what this isn't. And we were just so pleasantly surprised that when we did that, we reached out and said, listen, we're doing this for fun. Here's the animatic. We love your work. If there's something you can benefit from in doing this with us, we'd love to talk to you. And so we began with kind of looking for an art director, because I'm not an art director. I'm not a painter. I'm a story person, a storyteller. I love to draw, but I'm not, the whole point was to make this better than we could do on our own. Right. We're so lucky that when I spoke to Cora Kosika, our art director, who's way more talented than we deserve. She just liked the animatic and thought it was funny, and was like, okay, I'm in, And it just kind of happened that way with Leah, our animation director, the same thing. Like, I think once we got that sort of leadership in place, that even offered sort of others even a bigger reason to join, because now you have somebody like Cora, who, has almost a decade of experience and art direction under her belt. Like, she has so much to offer in way of mentorship. So we were kind of building a community that, like, as we all kind of came on board, we were like, well, now maybe there's another reason someone might want to do this. Maybe they want to work with Leah because she's amazing. And then, so it was really just leaning hard into our network, centering it around our crew, and having, empathy and a clear kind of focus on communication. And really, really trying hard, even though, yes, we have a schedule, we want to stick to it. We do want to make this in a year, because we didn't have sort of like a funding entity or kind of like people to answer to. We were able to be flexible, because life was not easy for a lot of us this past year. And so we just wanted the fall to be a positive thing for people.
And so when you started in production, what did that look like as far as, working from home and actually getting things done? And how long was that process?
I am very proud of our crew and how we did this. We got some very nice feedback from some crew being like, this was more organized than some shows I've worked on. And I was blown away. And that's all part and parcel to Philippa and Shai. And like, we had an astonishingly talented production crew. But no, we kind of did it like we emulated what we see at work. So Philippa started with a big, a year-long schedule. We really broke it up that way as best we could. Cora came on quite early, and so she began in January, I believe, of 2021, this year, with the concept art and color script. We got Leah on board earlier as well, and she began testing some things, trying to figure out what software we wanted to use. And we really just sort of did it as close as we could to kind of how productions are done kind of in the real world, so to speak. And in terms of it being with COVID, it was all just like this. We had the weekly production meetings that we stuck to. We set up a Slack channel to try to connect our crew and kind of give people a hub to message each other. And we set up monthly meetings. I kind of borrowed it from, I worked at Braun, and they would have monthlies where it was like a kind of like a beer mingling thing, but then they'd also show work that had been done from other departments that month. So we thought that's a great idea. Like we're often in TV, a lot of us work in TV, and you often, it's so fast, you're a little bit disconnected from those downstream or upstream from you. So yeah, it was cool to, I think, share the entire process with people as they were coming on and rolling off. Yeah, it was all done like this virtually.
You gotta love the creativity of it. I'm curious about the design because the design is so cute. Can you talk a little bit about coming up with the look of the movie? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
even from the still, the poster still, it's just like you look at it, you're like, oh, that's just so charming.
Yeah, that's actually something we or very early on, we kind of had put together a little a pitch package to people we were trying to pitch the show to, and kind of what I wanted to aim for with this in terms of look and feel was, okay, this is like a dark sort of absurdist comedy. Kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, something in the vein of rejected cartoons. But we were also thinking like a lot of adult comedy and a lot of adult cartoons have a similar look, or they're sort of like almost like unappealing on purpose. Like they're kind of, you know, almost maybe to distinguish it from children's content. And I was curious about what would happen if you fused like beautiful, charming, like, you know, yeah, just appealing beauty with this absurdist like darkness. It worked to the story as well. I'm so sorry if this is like spoiling it for anybody, but if you haven't seen it, it's a twist. Like it takes you aback, I think, if you're not going into it knowing what this is. So I think on the little pitch package we made, I put up a picture of like a still from the Dam Keeper by Tonko House, and then a still of rejected cartoons. I was like, we are just left of center. Like we want it to be pretty, but ridiculous and absurd. And then of course, so Cora was instrumental in developing the look. Those were kind of the inspiration, and I was able to sort of say like, this is what I'm thinking, but it was kind of her going off, marinating in that, and then saying like, here's some options that she really like injected her talent into that.
And can we talk about the music? Because the music is also
Yes.
so instrumental to just the feel of the project.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to talk about the music as well. And we can't talk about the music without talking about Leafy's voice actor, because this is actually the person who led us to our composer. So as you know, obviously we were leaning onto our network, but when we couldn't, we just threw Hail Marys. Like I just like cold called people who had no business replying to me. And one of those people was like my favorite YouTuber. This is embarrassing because Brian's going to watch this and know that I'm a nerd and I love his work so much. But Brian David Gilbert is a YouTuber that I just brought me so much joy over COVID and sort of getting into his comedy. And I just sent him an email through his website being like, hey, like, want to do like voice acting in this short film? And I sent him the animatic and he agreed. And it was like, what? And it was actually through Brian that I said, listen, like, we don't know anyone in music. Do you know anyone in music? Because I know this is somebody who, you know, he does a lot of songs, if you're familiar with his videos. And he said, yeah, my really good friend, Jonah Scott, does a lot of my music. He's a composer. He's amazing. And I was like, oh, amazing. And so Jonah ended up being also psyched about the animatic and willing to come on board. And no, he's incredible. Jonah performed all of the music. So the Leafy's theme is performed on his guitar, and just really like, it was such a good collaboration. I think Jonah and I really had just a good understanding, I think, of tone and sort of what we were looking for to tell this story. And yeah, it was so exciting.
And was he composing as you guys were animating, or did he like come up with a theme that you then animated to? Like, how did that process work?
Yeah, because a bit of it is timed, right? Because there is a dancing component. So what we did it a bit in tandem to give Jonah enough time to experiment and play, but also for our animators to have something. So the first thing that Jonah did was he was going to make a click track just with the rhythm, but being the talented person he is, he just like whipped around like a demo. So we had an early demo of that sort of gypsy jazz theme for the animators to work from quite early. And then the other, for those who haven't seen the film, in terms of the music, like without spoiling things, there are three distinct movements, you could say, musically speaking, that are very different from each other. And so two of those movements weren't really, you know, we didn't need the timing of the music. So Jonah had a little more time to play with that.
So now you have this project that you've been working on for, you know, a year intensively. Or how do you know that it's ready to go out into the world? When did you know it was ready?
Oh, well, we set actually Spark as our deadline. So when we started this process, you know, and we're sitting down, what do we want out of this? You know, one of the things was, well, we want this to go into festivals, particularly if we want to show off the talent that, you know, if we do, or if we are lucky to get these great people, we owe it to them to try to get it out into the world. And we all kind of agreed that Spark was our local kind of dream festival. And it just happened to be at the right time of year, you know, finishing it for the fall felt, you know, appropriate. So, while you guys were getting ready for the festival, we were scrambling to finish it in time to submit it. And we did it.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun and it's so charming and it's so nice to be able to celebrate just a great little project. So congratulations to you and the team. You guys really pulled it together.
Thank you so much.
All is wonderful. So what's next for you now? Now you've done this short film. What's next for you?
I don't know. It's well, I think working on this project really affirmed for me that directing is something is where I want to go with my career. It was so energizing and such a good experience for me. So I would love to continue working in story for a little while longer. I think there's a lot to learn still for me. So yeah, I've had the opportunity to work on a slew of kind of different themes in TV, and I would love to get back into feature and continue honing my craft. So yeah, seeing where that'll go. For the fall, this is really our inaugural voyage with Spark. So the fall has a long journey ahead of it. We're gonna try to get it out there and get it seen. And I want to say also that Shai, our associate producer, you know, the third pillar of this, has successfully transitioned into animation. She's now working as a production coordinator over at House of Cool. Philippa is a production manager now at WildBrain. Leah is an animation director now at Titmouse. So not to say that, you know, I'm not trying to take credit for everyone's stuff where the fall was responsible, but this was such a great opportunity, I think, for us to make our own experience and our own opportunities. So I'm really excited to see where this takes everybody.
Oh, well, that's so wonderful to hear. Congratulations to you and the team. It's really, really wonderful. And I wish you guys all the best with the movie and with
Thank you. And thank you for including us in Spark. It's really, really huge for us and a dream come true. So thank you.